want to join the Zionists and the Knesset and Netanyahu and Likud. I want to join them.
I used to separate. Oh, it's fine. If I go to Rikers, I go to Rikers. I separated Zionism from Judaism all my life.
Isn't that convenient for you? But what about the Jew who's a Zionist? How do you separate the Jew who's a Zionist?
But do you think that?
But now I don't. Now I don't separate them.
But the thing is, though, is when I hear people criticize Israel, they're kind of like just sticking it to the Jews in general.
Okay, but
there's over 2 million Jews that don't live. They're not Jewish. 2 million Arabs live in Israel.
The state has been created.
Okay, it's still growing, Yaakov. There's still settlements.
This is policies of a nation.
Just say it. They're killing babies.
What do we call it? A nation state?
They're killing babies.
Like France, like Greece, like United States.
No, it's not like France. It's not like Greece.
It's a nation. It's a country. There's borders. There's currencies.
It's a sovereign country. If you were to say that,
it's a
legitimate country, and we know.
Hold on a second, though.
It's not a legitimate country.
If you were to make the same argument, like regarding France, they have a shared language, culture, and ethnicity and religion. So I mean, like they literally tick all the boxes.
Yes, they have a currency. They have a postal service. They have a government. You know, they have ambassadors.
Standing military.
They're part of the UN. Like they check every single box.
But Yaakov, you're wrong about the Zionism because the settlements are still being.
People are gonna build houses. You know that, right? People build houses.
Borders of that country.
Yeah, you just keep going. You just keep building. You just build and you keep growing. It's beautiful to grow. It's beautiful to expand.
Subject to final negotiations.
Wow, there you go. See?
It's a republic. It's growing. It's a growing republic.
And I don't like a lot of their narratives, but I support them. There's one group of people that built Israel.
Build, baby, build. Build, baby, build.
It was a Jewish country built by Jews. It's a nice country.
Oh my gosh.
Built by atheists.
But let me ask you this question: Do you think that what do you think should happen to them? I'll just ask you that. I don't want to.
Are you asking Diego or are you asking Nora?
I'll ask you.
They're gonna sing the Shema. They're gonna dance with the Torah. They love the nation. They love the people. You can't stop a good thing.
You cannot separate it because.
Fine, answer it as you will. Answer it as you will.
I will, because every Jew in the world has the right of return to this. I don't want to.
If your mother's Jewish,
you have to eliminate that. No more.
If your mom is Jewish, why can't you go back to the mainland?
From just random places in the world going to be able to live in Palestine or Israel. Just first. Second.
Wait, what was the second one?
What do we do with Israel? We make it. You have to stop what's happening right now in Gaza.
Stop killing the babies!
Have you seen the images of the starvation? I'm really.
Have you seen the 25 hostages being kept with guns to their heads in somebody's kitchen?
I saw a video of a baby that was like a skeleton.
Yeah, I hope that's not real.
They kill 100,000 babies in Planned Parenthoods every month in America.
I don't think anybody's ever seen this.
Planned Parenthood is a Holocaust. It's 100,000 babies a month in America being aborted.
Whether it was in Eastern Europe, whether it was in Nazi Russia.
1 million Russian soldiers have died fighting in Ukraine.
God damn it, comedian.
Jesus.
But if you look at the wide scale death, that was like clearly visible. We have definitely seen it before.
But so never again.
You're saying in World War II there were similar conditions?
Way worse. Way worse.
Way worse?
Oh yeah.
Dude, no. At this point,
you're talking about scale of tens of millions, like whole cities, literally fucking destroyed. Not. You're talking about like a few square mile area, but that was literally people all over. You can look at the pogroms in Eastern Europe. You can look at what the Nazis did. That was a brutal time.
Dude, they yelled bloody murder when someone was silence and fuck the Jews. Like, I'd give that like a grain of salt when it comes to the truth. For the pogroms, I mean. That's what I'm talking about.
Yaakov, would you be because you're an Israeli citizen, right, Yaakov?
No, of course. No, I'm an American citizen.
Well, then why do you
I
have an
cannot
Israeli flag in your profile?
Boom!
What?
You have an
So
Israeli flag in your profile.
Exposed.
What's
yeah,
up?
because I've been there many times. I have
Showing
an affinity for
solidarity.
the Jewish state. It's like, yeah, it's
So
like
you
why do
don't-
people who
Why
have nothing to do with Palestine?
No,
have a
he comes and
Palestinian
goes as
flag
he
in their-
pleases.
But that's not true. If you look after
I know,
the
that's what
attacks
I
in
want.
France at the Bataclan, like in
Wait,
Paris.
what?
I said that's what I want. I want the same ability that you have to come and go.
You have no right to that, Nuna. Don't you understand?
I know.
You're-
I know.
You have no citizenship, and there's no such thing as a Palestinian
But
people.
when
You're just an
2000,
Arab from Kuwait.
okay, but in
I know.
2016, when the Islamic terrorists ended up, going into the Bataclan and killing a bunch of people, why did so many Americans that aren't even French have French profile overlays on their profile pictures? I mean, it's not wrong to show like you're an ally to a country that you support.
To a
or
rogue
you stand
state
in
that has
resistance.
nuclear weapons and won't declare them or sign a proliferation treaty, that Holocaust Palestinians every single day. I think they're killing about, 1,000 children
But
a
how do
day?
you use the term Holocaust? It's like way too inaccurate.
It's a Holocaust, dude. Prove me wrong.
It is.
They're not systematically rounding up.
No, it is
Palestinians.
systematic.
Exactly what they heard, bro.
Since 1947, there is a systematic effort to ethnically cleanse and genocide the Palestinian people and the Palestinian identity. That is true, and that is continuously happening today. And the objective of this war is to literally ethnically cleanse Gaza. And if they can't do that, it is most likely going to be the absolute annihilation of Gazans. And it might not be in a rapid amount of time, like in a year or two. This might actually keep going for a while, till there is actually hundreds of thousands of casualties. That actually might be the case, if the world lets it happen.
You keep on saying, here's where the annoying part with me is that you guys are getting triggered saying, well, you gotta look before October 7th, but you guys literally will not give over the fucking hostages.
This is
You
not
do,
about the
you do
hostages.
literally everything.
Stop
You
talking
literally
about
do
the
every. Oh, okay,
Even
then why
Israel
don't you do?
doesn't
If it's
care
not about hostages, give them
Israel
up.
doesn't care about the hostages.
Then
Literally,
give them
Israel
up.
doesn't.
Then give them up.
No. What? Give them up and
Then
then
play.
what?
Then,
Then
okay.
what?
Then,
And then what do we get out of it? What do we get out of it?
okay, here's what you would do: is that you would show that after you gave up the hostages, that Israel were a bunch of aggressive cunts that just wanted to ethnically genocide you.
October 7th. That was already known prior to October 7th.
Okay, then why not?
Okay, then what are we getting out of this? The
Okay,
world
then
is
why not call their
giving
bluff
us
and
what
release
we
the
deserve.
hostages?
We are
Because you guys want to continue to fight. That's what the
This
fuck it
is
is.
our shit. This is ours. This land is ours. We've been on this since the Bronze Age. We literally have science that proves this. We are an indigenous people. Way more than these cucks. These cucks, half of them don't even have haplogroups from the Middle East. That's just a fact, Pepe. At this point, if you don't acknowledge this is a fucking
They all
fact,
have
you're a delusional
haplogroups
motherfucker.
tying them to the Middle East.
No.
Just at different
50% of
percentages.
the Ashkenaz, and then I'm being very charitable. 50% of them do not have haplogroups.
That's not true, dude. I've read those
That
fucking
is a fact, and
studies.
if you go
No.
right now, that is literally a
They have
fact.
a higher
You go.
percentage. No, it's
If
like
you go
it ranges
and
from the
you look
very
at-
lowest,
you
the
go
teens,
and you break
then
down,
up into the 50s.
If you go
They
and you
all
look-
have a higher
Yeah,
percentage,
yeah.
11 DNA than any other fucking group in Europe.
Haven't you run the genetic test? Pepe Cynic is a geneticist and he knows about the haplogroups. You're not listening, Dr. Pepe. You're not listening.
Because his father is Jewish doesn't make him a Jew.
My daddy's Jewish, my mother's gorgeous. I'm a cashew. I'm a cashew with a... I'm a cashew with a right to return. I'm taking this cashew back to... This cashew's going to Tel Aviv.
That doesn't mean you're West African, nor does it mean that you have the right to go live in West Africa. Sorry, man. That's just the fact of it.
Okay, I get your point.
This lineage, you claim that you have the right to return to Palestine because you were kicked out of this land in the Roman era, which is
This is the song that doesn't end. Yes, it goes on and on, my friends. Some people started singing it, not knowing what it was, and they continued singing it forever just because this is the song that never ends. Yes, it goes on and on, my my
didn't
friends.
interrupt.
Some people start.
Cynic. Okay,
You're welcome.
I'm against the indigeneity argument.
Here we go
I-
again.
Indigenous people.
I know that the Jews are, some of the Jews are indigenous, but
Some of
that's just my point of view. But hold on a second. However, when it comes to the country, okay, they have a country, they built it. They
No.
themselves-
They don't have a country. They
Yeah, they
stole a
do.
country.
They absolutely do.
They even said the bride was beautiful
They-
and she's
talking
married to
about-
another man.
No,
They
but let's
set up an organization.
Hold
They conspired. They infiltrated
Yeah.
European hierarchies and governments, and decided to conspire against the people who have been living there
Cynic.
since the fucking Bronze Age.
cynic, but let's call it what it is. It's not a country. It's a fucking military base.
It
That's
is
what it
it
is.
is a military base that seeks to destabilize the Middle East and the Arab world and prevent any sort of Islamic unity that would eventually jeopardize the West or the hegemony of the West. That is the goal of Israel. That's why Israel was established.
So you're trying to tell me that wait, who's trying to destabilize the hegemony, excuse me, of the West?
Who do you
Just
think?
imagine
The
a
usual
united
suspects.
Arab world from Morocco all the way
So
to.
you're saying that the
Persia.
Arabs want to disrupt us?
No. Just by us having a united entity, which goes from Morocco all the way to Iraq or Iran, this means that we would be extremely powerful to the point that we wouldn't even have to sell oil in $1. We would force you to buy oil in our currency. We would
That's
force,
one
if you
crock of
decide
bullshit.
to fuck with us, we would.
You guys would be
sanction
fucking slaughtering
We
each
would
other.
sanction
What are you
you.
talking
We would-
about?
All we have to do is sanction you by preventing you from entering the Suez Canal, and you would literally suffer inflation to the point that your economy would start collapsing.
Not really, because we're the military. No,
we
we're the
would
dominant
have a
power
labor
force in the.
force. We
Okay,
would
it's not
have a-
Israel that is the 800-pound gorilla on this planet. It's the United States of America, first of all. And then, of course, when it comes
I
to
know.
when
We're not
globally,
fighting
when it
Israel,
comes
we're
to the
fighting United
West,
States.
but we can destroy the world 20 times over.
Sure,
That's
yes,
just a
you
fact.
can. Now.
Okay, so I mean, Israel's insignificant when it comes to our dominance. Now,
You don't know how many nukes they have.
But you think you can
yeah, they
destroy
have
the world
nukes.
and then
So what? But we can
What do
still
you
do
think
it
happens
without
when
them.
America
That's a
destroys
fact.
The world? America destroys
But
the
hold
world.
on a second. Are you going to tell me that this rift? Hold on. You don't think that this rift between? First of all, we can look at Iran. We can look after the invasion of Iraq. You have the
I
Shias
don't know
that
why
end
we're
up
going
basically
somewhere off
have
on
largely been.
tangents.
No, it's not. These now you have largely a Shia government in Iraq, and are you going to tell me that all of these fucking Muslims are going to somehow
Forget
get
about
along?
the
Like,
Shia government.
you guys have
in
always
Iran.
been killing. No, you said Iraq. You said
I said
from
I said
Libya to
Morocco
Iraq to Iran, like they were
borders
going to
of
have
Iran.
solidarity.
Yes,
That
I
is
didn't
stupid.
include Iran. I didn't include Iran. I never included Iran. However, Iran, even if you wanted to, the reason there is currently a Shia-based government, or that claim or uses Shia ideology as its way to expand into the region, is because of the West. If the West didn't get involved in Iran, currently Iran would probably be democratic, would probably be secular, and Shiism would be literally on an extreme decline. That's what it would be. But the West deliberately did this, and they deliberately
we
brought the
didn't.
Khamenei because they understand that Shi'i Persians are literally antagonists. They're antagonists to the Sunni Muslim world.
Okay, that's
So
bullshit.
they
So when
brought
it came
back
to
that
the
dynamic to sabotage.
the most destabilizing, you know what was actually very stabilizing, and this is where your argument falls apart, is that before we went and invaded Iraq, okay, Iraq is what kind of kept Iran in check. They fought a bloody 10-year war. They had to, and all of their military spending and defense had to be focused on Iraq. Now that Iraq is no longer who they have to focus on, now they can just go ahead and spend, give a bunch of shit to Hezbollah and the Houthis, and of course they're fighting a proxy war against the Gulf Arab states, not just Israel
What are you
and,
trying to get to? Iran
and the
yes,
US.
Iran has
But
expanded.
they were fighting each other before we intervened in the fucking Middle East.
First of all, the Iran and Iraq were fighting each other at the behest of the United States. Saddam Hussein got the green light from the United States, and he got his weaponry and his chemical weapons from the United States. Iran was being backed by the United States, if you remember the Iran-Contra affair. So that's what's happening. The United States does this, where it pits two powers against one another without giving a clear advantage advantage to either side so that they could destroy each other to the point that they both weaken themselves and the United States comes in with a broom and sweeps them all up. That's what the United States does, and it's done it several times throughout the world now.
You guys have
What
been
they-
slaughtering each other for
There we
fucking
go.
centuries.
We've been
Before
slaughtering
we
each
were
other.
the
That's fine.
yes, before the
We
United States
don't
was a
need
fucking
your
thing. That's all you guys
intervention.
fucking
We don't
do.
need your
Give me a fucking
intervention.
break.
We don't need the United States to intervene. We've been, and the West has been slaughtering.
That's right. You don't need the United States to intervene. We don't need to start it because you guys do it on your own.
Listen, the West has been slaughtering each other at a much higher degree, at a much faster rate, and they had literally 2 world wars to prove it. You have 2 world wars to prove it. Don't even come close to comparing yourself to us. As a civilization, we don't come.
You need
to
advanced civilizations
for
to
the
commit
amount
world
of
wars.
destruction
The
that
Arab
has
world has never
inflicted
been
in the world.
advanced enough to have
don't even
to really be the focus of
We don't need a
world
civilization
wars.
that literally butchered millions and millions of themselves and developed weapons of mass destruction capable of bringing an apocalypse to humanity. Do not deserve, shouldn't even dare to come lecture us, who literally have a much more peaceful history and a much more tolerant
bull
towards
fucking shit.
religions and minorities. Yes, we actually still have ancient minorities within our
you know what the largest
including our Jews.
do you know what the largest
consists
yeah,
of
okay, do you know what the largest the fourth largest act of genocide, okay, was literally against the sub-Saharan African peoples that you enslaved and they ultimately killed. You castrated all of the fucking males. Some of the male and some of them were even used
How's
as
that a genocide? Who even classifies that as a genocide?
huh?
No one classifies that.
You literally yeah.
No one even does. No one even.
Yes,
calls
it's
that a
literally
genocide. That's a
classified.
slave
It's
trade.
actually number
That is
4.
a slave trade.
The
that
Chinese
took
take the
over-
place for number 1.
That is a slave trade that took over centuries. You're talking about. And by
Yes.
the way, we didn't go to these.
And it ended
regions.
way after the Europeans.
Let me finish. Africa has its own world. It's the largest continent in the world, and it has many nations and many tribes. These people fought each other, and they came to centers of civilization, and they came and sold people in markets, and we bought them for the most
Kind of
part.
like
There's
Libya and
nothing wrong with
Sudan.
that.
Amazing.
We don't have an issue with the institution of slavery, nor are
bull
the
fucking
people.
shit.
There is no one who has been genocided as a result of slavery.
I mean,
No nation.
you guys have
Nation and
genocided
tribe.
so many people. What do you, like
Who?
literally,
Give me
where
one
does the
people.
word
Give me one
assassin
people.
come
Give me
from?
one people.
You had a group of Muslims that were
Who was
such,
genocided.
and they were horrible pieces of shit. So
Give
they
me a name
deserved
of
it.
people
But
that have been
but they're
genocided.
literally, you had the assassins that were literally genocided. In other words, there was no living.
The assassins?
Yeah.
That is a political franchise. These people were a cult. These people were literally political assassins. They went around
They're
assassinating
horrible people. I
politicians.
agree.
They're terrorists. These are the first terrorists. You're talking about the assassins. They're terrorists. They're not an ethnicity. They're not a people. They're Arabs. They're Arabs who went on top of a mountain and decided using tactics, sneaky and hidden tactics to go around assassinating figures and politicians and leaders and then terrorizing them to give in to their demands. That's all. And by the way, we didn't even take them out. The Mongols literally are the ones who.
But here's where
Moderators, put me in the queue. I'm back. Put me in the queue. I don't want to interrupt. Go ahead.
Sure, but I would say here's where the hard break is with you
Literally
guys.
the assassins.
Okay, sure. Like when it
That's
comes
the
to
game,
Israel,
Assassin's
okay, you can say
Creed.
they're not native
Why is
people.
this
You can
guy
say
continuously being brought
Yeah,
up? I want to
he's
know who the
He's our
motherfucker
friend.
is bringing this guy up.
yeah, but he interrupts while everybody's fucking
Well,
talking.
put me in the queue. Give them another 2 minutes each and put me in the queue. Thank you. We'll call you. Don't call us.
But when it comes to
You two take yourself so seriously. Have a little comedy in your lives.
amazing. So when it comes
I don't know what's so funny. I don't know what's.
I don't know what's going on.
They're killing babies.
I want to fucking.
They're killing babies.
Goodness.
So like with Israel,
Retards.
all right,
We are.
They're killing babies. They're killing
You're
babies.
gonna shut the fuck up, and we're gonna.
They're killing all the babies. Ah!
with that high pitched sound, dude, we can't do this. All right, there we go.
I don't know why you're here, you motherfucking cracker. Go fucking do something. Go read a book. Go fucking travel. Go to the gym, you fucking piece of shit.
So I would say this though. Okay, so I don't like having the indigeneity argument. It's like
Projecting.
We went around a circle. Now we're back to the original topic. You couldn't find me a single people or a single religion that we have freaking genocided.
okay, do you know how I feel about Muslims?
Meanwhile, I can give you throughout
Sure.
literally you
Who
ended
just
paganism.
tickles?
I mean, I won't even say the West, unless you want to include the Roman Empire as Western, and I don't really
I'll
consider
project
that.
all over your
okay.
face.
You know, I've like really calmed down. You know, when you would have met me a couple of years ago about what I would say about Muslims, but
Native Americans, that's all I gotta say.
I'm not even American.
No. Those people were literally gone. They're gone. Inca, Mayans, Aztecs. They're all gone, dude.
Oh,
Inca,
yeah. They were
the
ethnically
Inca
genocided. Yeah,
civilization-
sure.
The Inca civilization was actually one of the most they just didn't have.
Yeah, they're
guns,
ethnically
man.
genocided.
They
We agree there.
These guys had an industrial age, man. They were refining metal and stuff. These guys didn't
Okay, but cynic.
They didn't even have a currency. They were doing exchange. Dude, they were living a great life.
Cynic. I'm not denying that like they were
disappeared.
cynic. I'm not denying that European Christians ethnically cleanse people, did horrible shit to people. They obviously did that.
Ethnic cleansing is to displace a population when they still maintain their identity and culture and ways of life. No. You genocided them. Their ways of life are gone.
Okay,
They've
fine. That's
evaporated.
fine. Nobody's okay. You can talk about like Mesoamericans and so forth. Yeah, like nobody's.
There are native European populations that have also been genocided.
Yes, dude. I don't know why you're focusing on this. I'm trying to talk about
All right, my bad.
contemporarily
Go ahead.
Israel.
But like you trying to tell us that we've been fighting for a long time. Okay, we are as a civilization. We have internal conflicts, but for the most part, we are a monogamous group. We have we are by and large a Sunni population. Like yes, we have we don't even have a long-term conflict with a group of people called Shia. That's not true. Yeah, we have every now and then we had some sort of tension with but again, look who it was mainly. The main antagonist were the Safavids, were a Turkic dynasty that took over Persia, that forcefully converted the Sunni population into Shiism in hopes that they would be that they could ideologically put them in a position where they can have hate towards the majority Sunni population, so they could give them reasons, ideological reasons to fight them. That's the Safavids. That's what they did. So we don't have a conflict, a long-term conflict with the Shia. We don't. There's no such thing as long-term.
Okay, fine. We'll just drop that part because I don't even want to focus on it. Okay, so like when it comes to Israel, obviously I'm an outsider. Like I'm pretty critical of Israel, but like at the end of the day, it's like I think the state should exist. They should be able to defend themselves.
But
You
why?
can keep saying
They're
that.
not even
Why?
a legitimate state, dude.
This is not a
You can say
legitimate
that.
state. This state was
Oh,
taken
I
from
guess
a
that's where we
population.
disagree. I mean,
No.
it was a barren shithole. It was a barren shithole before they built it up. Absolutely, it was. Oh, yes, it was.
Palestine was one of the most developed Arab regions in the Middle East. It was. To the point when the Palestinians were ethnically cleansed, a lot of them went to the Gulf and went to other countries and helped greatly in educating and advancing those societies. Prior to Saddam Hussein and the invasion of Kuwait, we have contributed greatly to the Arab world. And they'll tell you. They'll tell you, go get any Gulf Arab and they'll tell you.
This is what I've always found weird. And this is something that I found was odd, is that like, it's my understanding that the Palestinians that were living in Kuwait were largely a very successful group. High percentage of them were part of the professional class. It might have just been because that's who they only allowed to immigrate, were like doctors, engineers, that kind of stuff. But they ended up expelling them because they, were taking the side of
which we didn't. That's just a lie. We didn't take his side. We just said that we are against foreign intervention in an Arab matter. That this should be solved internally between Arabs. That's what we wanted. but they wanted to bring in foreign forces, and we condemned this. The PLO condemned this. It wasn't even the Palestinians.
Well, I mean, I guess if you go against if you're the ethnic minority in a country, which is a very small country that cannot defend itself against Iraq, and they bring in, the world's superpower to
Iraq
save
did
them.
what it did because it was promised by the Arab countries that they would cover the cost of a war against Iran, because the Arabs feared the expansion of the Shia revolution, especially in countries like Bahrain. In the Gulf, there are Shia, so they didn't want this to expand. So they pushed Saddam, along with the United States, to go and engage in a useless war against Iran. And I don't support Saddam Hussein. Saddam Hussein is an idiot, and I completely dislike Saddam Hussein, but still,
I do too.
Truth is true. They went there because he told them, "Hey, man,
So what would have been?
You need to raise oil prices because I am trying to compensate my debt.
Okay, so should the Kuwaitis have allowed themselves to be steamrolled by the Iraqi military?
By the Arabs to Saddam Hussein.
Okay, so in other words, just the Kuwaitis should sacrifice them. The Kuwaitis should
because
sacrifice
the
themselves.
OPEC refused to increase oil prices so they could cover up their debt. The Iraqis, they invaded Kuwait. That's really, it's that simple.
I mean, that's fine, but I mean,
forget about it. It's irrelevant. At the end of the day, what you have is
At the
Zionism.
end of the day, as they like to say in the clown house
They
way.
could have taken any other option, even though they would have dealt with the same problem. There's an indigenous people there, and you're going to have to do some sort of ethnic cleansing to carve out an area that is predominantly Jewish. That's what you're going to have to do. But it's settled with Palestine, mainly because the Balfour Declaration. And you have what came after political Zionism, which is what is it called? Reform Zionism, I think, yeah, which is Zhabitinsky. So he's the one who's mainly started propagating this notion in Palestine, and we need to create a Jewish majority in the land. We're talking in the early 1900s. We're not even talking after the Arab revolt in Palestine. So this is not as a result of Arabs, starting to push back against Jewish migration and Jews. We knew what was happening. So that's why we started becoming hostile to the Jews. Because we knew
that's a part. So that's why I don't like having the negative discussion, because I'm somebody who's kind of for people having a state that's,
I don't. No. You can have a state. I'm a Zionist. I don't disagree. I'm a political Zionist. I believe all the Jews should be gathered up and should be put on a plot of land that is legitimately theirs, or they purchase it, or that the world gives it to them, and they can go and live their lives, because they are not contributors to societies. They see themselves as foreign elements. I'm not saying all of them, but the religious portion of them do see themselves as foreign because of their religion, and hence they don't mind being detrimental to that society if it comes at the cost of their benefit. So that's what they've done, and that's why they've been kicked out of 109 countries.
But so you don't see Jew as an ethnicity, right?
Well, as an ethnicity, as in a culture and a way of life, yeah, they do have if you want to say a people who follow a specific religion or specific teachings, and they align themselves with the historical narratives of these teachings as an ethnicity, I don't really have a problem. But when you say an ethnicity as in a lineage, a paternal or maternal lineage, no, they're not.
Exactly. Okay.
But you don't think that there's obviously lineage involved.
There is lineage involved, as in, yes, you can trace Ashkenazi Jews or a lot of Jews around these different groups of Jews to migrants from the Levant who established these communities, no doubt. But there's a huge conversion rate that took place. And you can see this. You can see this in the DNA breakdowns of these people. So they don't share a paternal lineage, an overwhelming paternal lineage. They don't. The majority of them do not come from this region.
When do you think these conversions happened? What century? Because I don't feel like most people convert.
We have the studies. The Ashkenazi
That
Jews
is
are
fucked up.
mainly a result of a population, 350 Jews, who migrated to the Italian peninsula, and they established communities over there. And out of these 350, you have an Ashkenazi. This is their source of origin. This is 850 years ago. This isn't from the Roman time. This isn't ancient history. We're talking about
But what's
medieval
the
history
incentive to convert so late in time? You have Christianity and Islam. Why would people be converting to Judaism?
People convert. I don't know why.
People still convert to Judaism. I mean, they make it just like, you know, I was raised Catholic. I'm not that
Cynic
religious,
is
but it
beyond
Yes,
would take
stupid
you-
and pathetic.
It would take you like not months, but probably a few years to become a Catholic.
No, from fall to Easter.
Apologies. Amazing.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you're very dedicated, I guess it probably, if you're like, well, I think Israel, you have to. There's like there's certain rabbis, they have like where if you go through their specific, you go through a conversion through these specific rabbis, like you'll be recognized as somebody who's fit for Aliyah to Israel, but it's like a, I guess, several year process, and they're gonna kind of like discourage you along the way quite a bit. At least that's what people have told me. I don't know how true this is.
It's all a crock of shit, man.
Yep.
You don't think they try to discourage you?
I mean,
I'm talking
agree
about
that
Orthodox
you
conversion.
You can't get a right of return unless you go through the right avenues. But that's not the reason why we
Well,
don't
no,
have
Israel-
return. Why do?
Well, Israel has it. Well, no, Israel has. Well, it's their laws. I don't know, but they do have like an approved list. of rabbis or something.
Why?
It's not like it's
Why?
not an easy process.
It doesn't matter what happened in the establishment of Israel or what they decide to do their laws. What matters is from the very beginning what led to the establishment of Israel. Why did Jews deserve to come to this land and establish a Jewish state, a Jewish majority state at the cost of an indigenous people? What?
Okay, I mean, you're asking a question that.
Okay, let me try to explain to you something. Have you ever seen Better Call Saul?
Yeah,
You know why he called himself Saul Goodman?
his Jews get better. They're more trusted as lawyers.
Okay, so why do you think that there aren't just like a million Jewish synagogues popping up all over the country and taking advantage of the fact that Jews are first-class citizens and everybody else is second-class citizens?
I mean,
Think about it, bro. Think about it.
No, but think about it. But here's the.
So I think,
I'm
I
about
think
to
the Andrews, I think, yes, I think Adams brought up a good point earlier. So put aside the part that the woman was wrong for saying it, but it's all pure.
I think so many women are just sick of, oh god, this guy records the rooms. Can you kick? Can you kick this guy out? Because he records the rooms. Sorry, Edward. Sorry, not this room.
Shit, let me get some food. I'm like, I'm holding my chest. I'm like, oh my God. But, you know, the stuff is expensive. So he really, you know, I just said, okay. There are people like that, you know. And there was a guy that I met outside the store, and he was going to go in, and I was at the window, actually. I don't know what I was looking at the window. So anyway, he just said, he says, nice clothes, huh? And I said, oh yeah, some of the best. He said, that's what I've been told. So he looked like, I think he was a young lawyer. So he goes in, comes out saying, boy, it's expensive. And I said, yeah.
Comedy out, please. This is the same guy as the other one.
Oh,
Stop bothering me!
oh, he supports Israel. I support Israel, but you gotta go, buddy.
It's the subject.
Hard work.
Good.
But, okay, so then why? Okay, but it's almost like it's just like this weird thing where you guys are wanting to, I don't know, say that they're first-class citizens and everybody else is different. Where it's like
I'm not
there
saying
is
that. That's
they are successful. Okay,
Let's
but
eat
then
at the
why
bar
why
and
is
pass out
it
the
that you
women
think they're
work
quote
there.
unquote first class citizens in comparison to the rest of us? Because I know poor fucking
think
Jews and
the
Jews with
Jews
shitty
have
lives.
done great in the West, in the United States, and they played the game and they succeeded. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't have a problem with that.
Why? So
Nobody can answer me though why people aren't just converting to Judaism if it's a key to getting into Israel. If it's that easy to get first class citizenship worldwide, why isn't everybody just converting? Think about this for some time.
Wallahu, wallalu, wallalu. Hey, wallah, go back to Jordan. Stop your whys and your complaining.
if you look at, like, for example, one group that I think is very similar to Jews is the Lebanese Christians. Why the fuck is it that they are a small diaspora wherever they are?
Like
They
What does
seem
this have to do with anything, man?
Hello?
because
Hello?
they're from the same region of the fucking
That's
world.
great.
Why is it that
I
they
don't
tend to be a
mind.
small?
Let them be. Let
Okay, but no. You want to talk about first class, second
I
class
didn't want to
citizens.
talk about them.
Why is it that you have another? No, you brought it up.
I didn't
Why is
bring
it that
it
you
up.
have a diaspora? Okay, from the Levant that tend to be very successful. Like literally, the richest man in the world for the longest time was Carlos Slim from Mexico. You look at the Lebanese Christian diaspora; they're very successful people.
That's great for them.
and you
By
can't,
and large.
and you can't
But
pretend
I don't
to
know.
be-
Is it
well,
because
you can't-
they're monopolizing the system somehow?
No.
It's an ethnicity. You're making my point for me. Nobody can pretend to just suddenly be Lebanese Christian and make
But
that.
what is it? But what is it about the Lebanese Christians where they do better than other Christians, and they do better
the
than?
Jews killed all
They
the
are
Lebanese
forced to
Christians,
do this.
man.
They have to do this. Otherwise, they're minority.
So everything they have to start over. So everything that they had, they had to work and build a whole new life, and they came to America for that. So when they were in the Middle East, they were pushed out, and they were torn. So they appreciate
And
that.
massacred by Aaron Sharon.
Yeah.
They were massacred by the fucking Muslims. Like, why are we pretending
No,
this shit?
that's not true.
That's not true.
Okay.
Innuendo.
So I'm just curious. And when Israel felt it was the need to get a PR campaign, what was it that happened in Israel? And I believe it was the 70s with that little camp where the Palestinian Lebanese Christians ended up.
Topper and Chatilla.
Yeah.
Yeah. What happened there?
Bro,
81.
if there's one thing Israel doesn't know how to do is a PR campaign. That's the one thing they don't know how to do, man.
Well, that's when they actually got negative press, is because I don't know it in details, but apparently Israel had largely secured the area surrounding it and didn't stop the Palestinian Christians from going and killing the Palestinian Muslims.
So you're young, which is fine.
But I guess the Palestinian Christians loved you guys. They're amazing.
Palestinian Christians didn't kill Palestinian Muslims.
Hold on a second. There are the two groups of Middle Easterners that I went to school with. Like I said, I went to Catholic school. We were largely Chaldean and Lebanese Christian. They did not. I would say they're most Islamic phobic people. Like literally, they dislike Muslims. I mean, very vocally. I mean, you can look at Brigitte Gabriel, probably the most outspoken person who supports Israel, obviously, but what she has to say about Muslims. You have to understand. It was the reason why, one of the biggest reasons why, is not just because of what's happened in Europe historically centuries ago, but even today. But if we look in the Middle East, I see some of the most beautiful people, a beautiful Christian country, and then a bunch of fucking ragheads come in there and they destroy the fucking place. It's a third world shithole now. Like, we're not the
I don't
fucking
know where
same.
we're going.
It was the Paris of the fucking Middle East for a fucking reason.
Lebanon, we did not destroy Lebanon. This
Oh,
was not
okay,
a
yeah,
Muslim
sure.
versus Christian conflict. This was,
Amazing.
you had a Maronite Christian nationalists in Lebanon who were egged on by Israel to establish a Christian state in a land which had a 50-50 population almost. So that's what it was. And they were, and Israel did this because they feared that southern Lebanon was becoming a front, a theater for the Palestinian refugees to attack Israel. And that's what they were doing, in a sense. They were engaging in hostilities with Israel because these are people who want to return back to their homes at the end of the day. They're refugees.
Wait, you got me confused. Wait, because you said a lot right there. The Maronite, so who was the Maronite that was running it that you were saying? We got to start there.
Jemail, what's his name? Nabil Jemail, I think, yeah.
Okay, and so Israel thought that I guess you got me confused.
Yeah, so that these Maronite nationalists.
I think that Israel destroyed. I don't think that the Palestinian Muslims. I don't think they helped. I don't think Hamas helped. I think they helped destroy.
That's not Hamas. That's not Hamas.
There was no Hamas in.
Oh my God.
I'm saying Israel for the majority of all the footage that I've seen it's been Israel that's really done.
We're talking about the Lebanese Civil War. That's what we're talking about.
That's your
This is
people.
way
Yes,
before
no, I'm
Hamas.
sorry.
This is way before.
I mean, it wasn't
Yeah,
way
but-
before Hamas. Hamas existed, but they weren't involved. They weren't in Lebanon. They were in the Palestinian territories. So Hamas has been in the Palestinian territories prior to the PLO showing up. The reason they brought the PLO was to defranchise the Hamas and the Jihad, so Islamist movements. So they brought them in because they were like, okay, at least these guys are secular, and that we would establish a Palestinian government. But I got not to go into that, but for the most part, the Civil War was initiated because of rise of Christian nationalism, or Maronites,
Yeah,
who
Maronite.
were radicals, and they decided to line themselves, egged on by Israel and trained and supplied by Israel, initiated in an effort to create a Christian state.
Yeah.
Well, why should the Maronites, the ethnic people of that homeland, be able to do
They're
that?
not the only people of that homeland. That's
Was
not.
that after the Ottoman Empire and the French? Was that after all of that was when that happened?
How about you
Yes,
Google it?
that is.
Yes. Okay. So then that would make sense, right? So after they were like colonized and everything, that would make sense that the Maronite Catholics there were wanting to make it like their own. As
I won't say even all of them. It wasn't even all of them. It was just
But you know what I'm saying? Like
specific
they
groups.
wanted.
Hold on, I'm gonna look it up. It's my understanding that Lebanon was a Christian majority throughout
Yes,
almost all of
Maronite
its history.
Catholics.
So, so I actually think if we're going to talk about, you want to talk about kicking kikes out of
Lebanon,
the
it doesn't
Levant,
even a country.
we can do you can do the exact, you can play the exact fucking game when it comes to Lebanon.
Listen, we're not again. No one wanted to kick the Christians out or the Maronites. Again, it wasn't even all the Maronites. It was just this specific group of nationalists. That's all, and the radicals. But that was their intention. It wasn't like, oh, we want to get rid of them, or
But
anybody
think
wanted
about
to
why.
ethnically cleanse Christians. No
That
one wanted
makes
to
sense
do
of
that.
why.
But they were told pretty much, they were egged on by Israel that if the demographics continue and these Palestinians are allowed to establish themselves in Lebanon, which they already were doing, is that this would lead to them becoming a minority, because it was already 50-50 almost. So at the time, so
Okay, I got you.
Yeah. So they were egged on, and they wanted to as well. They wanted to create a Christian.
Yeah, because my grandmother, she never spoke bad about. Honestly, she never spoke bad and never talked about the Muslims. She definitely had respect and love for Israel and their people. I know that, but she never talked about the Muslims in any way. And the only thing she talked about was she would call the Syrians. She would call them dirty Syrians, and I don't know why, but she would call the dirty Syrians, and I don't know where.
Lebanese and
Because Syria occupied Lebanon as well. After the Civil War, it was Syria. Syria controlled a lot of Lebanon.
Lebanese and Syrians.
Well, because it all used to be one region, like Syria. You know what I mean? Like
There was no Lebanon. This was Mount Lebanon. There was a Mount Lebanon.
Correct.
was no Lebanon.
Right, it was Mount Lebanon, so like, which was a part of the Syrian Republic, right? Is what they
No,
called
it's,
it?
it's part of the region known as Syria. Again, there wasn't.
So then why did they hate each other? Or like have
We
beef?
didn't hate them. Not all the again. Didn't represent the majority of Christians.
Yeah.
They weren't. But it was like a specific, a few groups of Maronite nationalists who wanted to create a Christian state who were supported by Israel.
Okay, but when it came to
Sick is
the
600
when it
years
came to
old.
Maronite nationalists and the influx of Muslims, where did these fucking people come from? They came from Palestine.
Okay, well, you have already the populations within Lebanon, like the Shia, like the Druze, like even the Sunni Muslims. These were already there, But the refugee crisis of the
Which was the refugee crisis. That is what tipped the scales.
It started tipping the scales more and more to where the Christians were becoming a minority. But that wasn't even a problem. Like that wasn't an issue. It was the Israelis who made it an issue. And like, oh, you guys are going to become a minority, and they egged them on. And again, there were people who were like, I don't want to share the state with these people. I want to create a Christian state. That's just not. You're going to create a Christian state, but there's already a lot of Muslims here and other people like the Druze. And obviously, people consider them also within the Muslim umbrella. But yeah.
Are the Druze have a different religion?
Yeah, they do. They're a cult, you could say. But neither here or there. I mean, most of the antagonism was mainly between Druze and Christians historically. Like the Druze are the ones who, like, if you look at like Ottoman Empire time, it was the Druze. The Druze and the Christians had like skirmishes or fights or wars, if you want to call it that. It wasn't the Muslims per se.
But the PLO did start military activities in Lebanon.
Yeah, which is, we're refugees. We want to go back to our home. Like, let us back to our places.
Yes, and this is where I sympathize with the Lebanese Christians. It's kind of like they. Now that they don't, there's no Christian dominance. It's a fucking shithole.
Christian dominance. I don't know where this is. It wasn't like a Christian.
I mean, they had it.
It was a state. It was, again, there was no Islamism at the time. There was
because the Christians ruled the motherfucker.
No, it wasn't really them ruling. It was pan-Arabism at the time. That was the popular thing. Everybody was Arab, and we're all Arabs. Blah blah blah. There wasn't a rise of Islamism. Again, no, we didn't start this shit. It wasn't us. We're simply Palestinians. We went there and we found ourselves refugees, and we were defranchised. And again, we weren't recognized by the Lebanese state. We weren't given we're not citizens. So what do you want us to do? We organized and we decided to try to take our land back. We want to go back. And everybody, all the Arabs should support us, because at the end of the day, you're an Arab. You're with us on this.
Yeah, I mean, no, I don't think a Christian Arab should have to.
No, they have to, because again, there were Christian Arabs as well who were affected and became refugees as well. You don't betray the cause. This is our cause.
If you're talking about Palestine, that's fine. But
No. We are the same people. We're literally the same people. This is nationalism. This is national identity. It's something we developed. Dude, we're not Palestinian. There's no such thing. I agree. This Palestinian is a national identity that we developed in the early 1900s as a response to Zionism. And the rise of nationalism throughout the world, and the notion that
Your screen
we have a
froze
national
out.
identity to create a state. Okay, so
So
we're like, well,
when you
this
look
region
at
is known
every
as Palestine.
experience,
I guess
you
we
see
could develop a
it has
Palestinian
no
national
reality.
Okay, but you're
Well,
It has
technically,
zero
we are
reality. So,
Arabs.
Western
We're
philosophy
Arabs.
said this.
We're Arabs. We're all
Our
Arabs.
life is
Especially
a
all Arabs.
Arabs, especially Levantine Arabs. We're
But once in
specifically,
a while, we wake
even
up and
among the rest of the Arabs, we're literally one people.
Sure, but you're one people that, especially in the West, they would let a white Christian, like 100 times over, marry their daughter than an Arab Muslim. That is just a
What does that
fact.
have to do with anything?
In other words, they don't. There is that you talk about this pan-Arabism.
After the flood,
that one little fact, one's Christian, one's Muslim. That is a divide that is way larger than your shared ethnic heritage, which is being Arab.
What?
Why are they? In other words, why would Palestinian, or excuse me, Lebanese Christians, why would they approve of you marrying anybody as long as they're Christian over a fucking Arab Muslim?
That's up to them. It wasn't that black and white. Marriages between religion, like that's not an issue. We've had this. No one's gonna look down on you for it. No one's gonna go. A Muslim isn't gonna go. Oh, you look at you.
No, they don't.
No, it's hard for us to Christians.
I'm just
I didn't say I said limit
content creator one day. I have no supporters. So if you have the chance, please subscribe.
And even today, things are fine. Like it's not like there's issues and contention.
Please don't scroll. I'm just trying to become a big content creator.
It's not a problem. Yeah, we might not marry. Like there's a low percentage of intermarrying. Okay, but still happens though. That's neither here or there, At the end of the day, instead of siding with the Palestine, with an Arab cause, stayed in Lebanon.
He's like some crazy looking wood structure, like building structure, so like some tower. Like some guys like trapped inside of that. That's the only part of it.
Looks like a realistic Fortnite drama.
Fortnite. You can build. You know what that kind of looks like? That kind of looks like that's the sign of the ark, and God opened the door and said, "Yeah, suck it, motherfuckers. We have all the men and women we need. They'll just take animals, please."
There's people trying to they see the flood coming and people are running up, and they're like trying to get in, and then like that trap door opens and it's like, yeah.
See that group of hungry people next to the two camels? Kill them. Kill them. We need those two camels. We need those two camels. Just let us in, boy. No. She was pretty fine though. I don't care. We have enough family here to create a new race of humans. Oh my god. We're gonna have the coccyx bone forever. Look at ladies, you could have been on the ship. This is what you would have had. I know. There wasn't Girls Gone Wild at that time. Like people running up in string bikinis, save us, and they were like, no, I need 7 clean cows. Sorry, can't help you. I don't believe it.
Do you have any other good art recommendations, Daniel?
Really hard to do livestock on a boat. Asking for more art recommendations.
Yeah, I respect Daniel's aesthetic palette.
Ooh, what a compliment. Girl. Dude, are you aesthetic palette? What is that water noise? Bro, are you gonna find a dinosaur in the middle? What are you doing, dude?
It's hardly. You're naked right now in a bathtub.
Go on.
Yeah, sorry. I like to splash around.
That's what Noah said.
Okay.
Dude, are you doing the dishes or what? What is that? That's funny.
That beast literally in. There couldn't be in the bathtub. Fucking weirdo, dude.
That's
and you
so
can hear
funny.
echoing in that little tiny room.
That's fucking. Just Epsom salt soap. I do my Sunday night bath. I do my Sunday night bath with.
You got like one of those fucking like sponges on its dick where you're like.
Yep.
He's just scrubbing
his knees above the water because he's too big, because he's a fucking adult. Jesus, scrub this shit off me for the next week, please. That shit is funny, dude. Take a shower, you grown-ass man.
What the fuck is he doing?
I think it's either
he's doing dishes though. Like what?
Yeah, it's either dishes or some kind of like clubhouse fetish. I love going on Clubhouse to taking a bath. And
Leslie the lesbian, are we sure this is not a troll?
It probably is a troll, but she said she is gay. She said, and she dresses like in men's clothing and stuff. And she's so gross, like she's absolutely gross. Like she makes me so uncomfortable. I just leave.
Oh, if you guys just become Christian, we'll take care of Israel for you. If that was the case, maybe there would have been, but it's not the case at all.
You guys just don't believe in yourselves.
The West isn't even like a Christian civilization anymore.
It's not. Look, I'm not a religious person, so I'm not going to tell a person that they should adopt my beliefs just to be strategic. It's not. I'm not going there whatsoever. I'm only calling out the natural biases that individuals have that are subconscious, where
I agree. People are biased towards their religion. That's not a problem. But you can be biased towards your religion without, towards your kinsmen in religion without necessarily causing injustice to other groups.
Not if you're Jewish.
That's the problem.
Causing trouble to other groups is part of the whole modus operandi.
Yeah. Judaism believes in other groups should be annihilated. It's just
it's a very key factor when you produce anything.
Christians.
What's that?
Which can you really blame them for it? I mean,
Hey, Dean, you were getting drunk the other night, huh?
Oh, comedy. I don't know this.
I hear you're black.
You were saying like they can't help themselves?
No, they have a history with the Christian world, and the Christian world has like kind of went after them, but
did we really?
Yeah.
no, we've always, and I mean,
we're not talking like
I don't like. I'm very
talking
careful
like
with what I say.
Roman Empire.
I'm very careful with what I say because, like, I don't want to sound. Because I don't want to sound like I'm for like groups that don't believe what I believe. But I mean, sure, has there been trouble? Like, has there been a lot of troublemaking? If we're look at some of their diaspora spanning hundreds of years, yeah, sure.
Like more so than not, kind of.
I don't know. I couldn't say that.
It's the religion, man.
I think 1,000 instances in 109 countries they can say otherwise.
Well, I mean, there is the fact of the matter that, like, yeah, I mean, like I said, some of them cause trouble, definitely. But with that being said, I feel like I do think like an evolutionary strategy with them that like you're always like the small minority wherever you are. Like, are they like hyper vigilant and wary of threats. Like I probably, I mean, they kind of had it rough wherever they went in terms. Well, you might not agree with that.
Look, most of these 109 countries could have just annihilated those populations, but they let them leave. I mean, did they really have it that bad? I mean, that's pretty benevolent, don't you think, to just let them leave? They get the hell out of
Christians did and this is where like Muslims will even call it out. Like we don't have our hands clean either. I mean, if we're to look at like the worst genocide of Jews, I mean it's just fucking Christians. Did Christians like terrorize Jews and treat them shitty? Like absolutely.
Not according to Fiddler on the Roof. If you watch the movie and pay attention, they show you why they come and do the pogroms. It's because these guys are causing trouble in the city.
Yeah, I'm not denying that there were troublemakers, but I mean, they definitely were,
The main problem with Jews is usury, man. It's really always been the main problem. That's why they're expelled out of 109. And you'll see that it was usually because of the financial practices. Money lending and interest.
It wasn't the money. It wasn't usury. It was the
main reason.
It was the coin clipping, man.
The what?
You see,
Stanek, you're a very uneducated man, dude.
People will say, try to say that it's usually. People will try to say
counterfeiting.
Whatever. These are.
Dude, they literally clip the edges.
Yeah, I know. That's like
only them though.
Yeah, that's where it's like becomes the shittiest anti-Semitic trope, because that was like the most common
clipping. That's why.
Yeah, that was like literally one of the most common fucking thieving things to do, like by everybody, like literally everybody.
No,
it was absolutely.
That's ridiculous.
That is not the main reason. The main reason is usury, bro.
But see,
the Christians weren't allowed to do usury.
Remember,
they were allowed to do usury. And you had monarchs who benefited off the usury system that the Jews, so you allowed them to do it. You keep your hands clean. You get to tax them. And when the people rebel against the Jews, they don't rebel against the hierarchy.
This is where I agree with you, Cynic, 100%. Is that you have to understand that when Christians, okay, they skirted their own religious values by getting. No, I'm being dead serious.
How are you against usury? And then you.
It's in the New Testament. Give unto Caesar what is Caesar's, and give unto the Republicans what is for the Republic.
So you absolutely had, these.
Welcome back to another episode of Low IQ Dumb People talking about nothing, wasting all their time.
Oh my God. But if you look at the Vatican and Diego and I, but I mean they deliberately for a very long period. They were against usury, but
me and Diego are practicing Catholics.
Yeah, but I'm not. But I obviously am knowledgeable about their history.
Clubhouse.
I'm not
had a
secular.
feature, right?
I'm just
which was a hate.
somebody who.
1 in every 20 houses are.
They kicked me.
Christ, you totally disrupted me. It was. We're practicing Catholic.
Very, quite entertaining. I caught him in one of his podcasts, and he's about the same complexion you are, Garth. Long hair, a little bit younger, probably, I'm not sure what his background is, but he's definitely white. Caught him on his podcast saying the N-word twice. After you said it for the first time, I comment, I said, listen, this is not appropriate. Right? After the comment, you said it twice. Unsubscribe. Completely turned off. And this is the problem with that word. This is a word.
Another show about nothing, Jonathan.
If you look at it historically, you were colonized as black people, and now we're calling each other that, and now we're at a tipping point where it might be
logic here, friend. All right, so they just got
Watermelon logic.
Hang on. They just got kicked out of country number 89, right? So they don't have any money.
This is the movie that never ends. They just won't stop.
Right. So they have no money. So where are they lending the money from? Think about what you're saying, Cynic.
Yeah. Wait a second. What are you thinking? Like, oh, they're getting kicked out of country. Like, oh, that now they're being introduced to a new region and there's no Jews there. There's definitely Jews there.
Where are they lending?
Where are the Jews? Why?
Jews like
the Jews.
Whatever they have, like you understand, interest can be it compounds. You know compound.
You know what compound interest is? Compounding.
Like over amount of time, I can make it 1,000. And imagine this being done with a larger sum over a larger group of people. You can develop wealth pretty quick.
And this is the thing that's fucked up is that the Vatican, okay, the Catholic Church in Rome, the Pope, okay, they relied on them, okay, for this. They pushed for this. This is their way of circumventing their
religion.
Yeah, their religion, and so you do, and it pains me to say this as a Catholic person because the Catholic Church, however, was what was largely the dominant Christian power that the kings and all of the kingdoms of the time had to rely upon. They did this dirty shit.
Wait a minute. Okay. So, do you know the term debated about terrorists with Canada in the previous term as well? And
The Jews were basically told, like, hey, you can't do this, you can't do that, but hey, you faggots can do money lending because it's, usury and shit. And yeah, that's what they did.
Do you know that?
And then it's just like, when things go south, like, okay, well, it's the fucking kikes that are causing all of the problems. Okay, we're just gonna go ahead and kill them.
Oh, we're gonna expel them.
That's the problem when you go for lowest price.
No one's there to demand
Stuff like that. They're trying to make money somehow.
Makes no sense.
I guess
You
that's how
know
they're doing it,
Catholics
demonetizing
are not
the
against
expiry
interest
period,
rate, you understand?
No, they are
monetizing the
historically
names
against
of you.
interest, yes. This
Even
changed
during the
later
grace
on.
period, like wow,
It's not true.
They're selling
Not
it.
true.
Just Google it, girl.
They just
Google it.
They're not true.
We were very against
Why
interest.
didn't
We
the
were
Christian
totally
world
against
have
interest.
banks from the very beginning? Why not?
We did. We invented banking.
No, we didn't.
We invented double entry bookkeeping. Do it in Italy. That's exactly what we did.
They'll be.
The Jews didn't even know how to have a proper ledger.
Can you get rid of the comedian?
Get rid of them! You're projecting your own demise, Edward!
Dude, Diego, this is weird.
Serious for
You
once?
always
No,
kind
you
of
can't.
side
He
with
records
the
rooms.
Muslims more.
Free the hostages! Free the hostages! Free the hostages! Free the hostages!
It's my understanding they also were guilty of this, to a lesser degree.
We refuse. We are not victory.
But you guys did. Are you going to tell me that you guys never utilized?
This is why the Ottoman Empire fell. The Ottoman Empire fell because
That's
they were
just the
borrowing.
means to
Mainly,
the-
this is why because they were borrowing money from the West with interest, and they just couldn't pay it back.
Yep.
This is why they fell. So they abandoned specific Islamic principles, and they did this.
Free the hostages! Free the hostages!
This took place. There's a rise of nationalism. They started borrowing money from the West, and they got in debt, and then nationalism continued to rise, and it collapsed.
So, you can find somebody your weight class. We can get you locked in.
Usury is the worst thing you could do.
Let's go back to work.
In Nazi Germany, the reason for the rapid rise of Nazi Germany is because they pretty much got rid of interest.
Who created the Ottoman Empire?
And you can say fuck the French, but they civilized you people.
No, they didn't. They colonized us.
Yeah,
Protect her family
and so
and
doing, they civilized you guys.
No, they didn't.
I don't know where we're going with this conversation. Anyways, I feel like I don't care about the Jews and their interactions in Europe, like their integration.
I don't care about that. I care about my region.
But no, but who created the Ottoman Empire?
I don't know.
Okay.
Empire.
What does that have to do with
The Turks. The Turks, they came into this region. They converted to Islam, and they came in at a time where you had crusades. And the Abbasid caliphs at the time gave them a territory, which is like pretty close to Mesopotamia. Anatolia, and they were the buffer between the Muslim world, the Arab Muslim world, and the Western Christian world. So, and pretty much they saw.
Free Palestine! Free Palestine! No more Hamas, no more crime! Free Palestine! No more Hamas, it's a crime! Free Palestine! No more Hamas, no more crime! Free Palestine! Hello? I don't even think I'm on the stage. There's no way that fucking worked. Hello?
You could be Arab.
Hello?
You could be, a Gaul.
Hello?
You could be.
Well, the Romans. That's the reason why there's American Catholic, because they separate themselves from the fucking Romans.
We were all Ottoman citizens.
We was all kings.
Ottoman subjects.
We was all queens.
We fought with the Ottomans.
I'm 500 years old. I'm a time traveler.
What's last thing?
Hello?
Pearl, what do you disagree with? Just chill. Okay.
We fought till the very end with the Ottoman Empire, especially as Levantine Arabs. The Gulf Arabs revolted, sure. I mean, technically, they have the right to do so in a way because it was no longer a caliphate. So our loyalty to the Ottoman Empire came from the understanding that it's a caliphate. Once it abandoned Islamic principles and teachings and Sharia, that was it. Like, there's no reason to maintain loyalty.
They have our backs.
However, we were hoping for the best. We fought in Gallipoli. Like, Arabs fought in that battle against the British and against the Anglo Alliance, the British, French, and Aztecs, and all these New Zealand, all these guys. The division that Ataturk led was an Arab division. He led Arabs mainly from Syria and Palestine and Lebanon. Yeah. We have our graves still there. You can go to these war memorial graves. Cemeteries, and you'll see from Gaza, from Jerusalem, from Damascus. And they like to ignore that these days. But yeah.
Hi, Pearl.
Oh, what's up, Pearl?
Hey guys, missed you guys. I'm at my parents' house. I can't talk loud.
In Doc.
Pearl,
Hey,
I just want
Summer.
to ask you, as a Christian Middle Easterner, you don't have to answer it, but like if you were to marry like a white Christian guy versus a Middle Eastern guy who comes from Iraq, that's Muslim, like which would your family have more of a problem with?
What do you think, Pepe?
The Middle Eastern.
But that's a religious thing.
Yeah, like you gonna make me say it?
No, you answered it.
Pepe.
It's all on you.
There's nothing wrong with that.
In
But
the
marriage is not.
1980s, hold on. In the 1980s, a Chaldean girl died via honor killing because she was dating a Muslim guy. I'm not even joking. That was in the 80s in this country, US of A. That's how big of fobs and boaters we were. So, of course, it would be the white Christian guy. And a lot of my cousins married white Christian guys. My cousins are a quarter Polish. They might as well be 100. because they all have blonde hair, blue eyes. Those white jeans are strong sometimes.
Well, I would say this, like, I don't have any sisters or cousins, so it's hypothetical. I can't get in trouble for saying this, but if I had a sister that married a Muslim, I you know,
You'd honor kill her?
yeah, probably.
So now they just excommunicate you from being Chaldean. You're just not even Chaldean anymore. You can't come into the country club. You can't walk into the church.